Hello and welcome back to some more of the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where last time, oh boy howdy last time, we finished up the third case of the game, which was the return of the great departed soul, and good lord almighty what a phenomenal case it was. With or without the final 20 minutes, you chop out that last 20 minutes, and you still have a phenomenal case. You add those 20 minutes back in, and you're out of this world. That case, I don't even want to. You should go back and watch last episode if you haven't watched it already. It was insanity. So the problem is that I don't know if they can top this. Like, I almost feel like they've blown their load too early with this case. I really don't know how they can live up to the insanity of the climax and the epilogue of this case with these final two cases. I don't know how they're gonna do it or if they can do it, but fingers crossed, because I really want this to end. I don't want them to butcher the end. I want it to have a great ending. I want it to end well. So please, please, for the sake of my sanity, give this game a proper ending. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. So for now, we're gonna dive into the fourth case of the game, Twisted Karma and His Last Bow, which is a name for a case. Let's do this thing.
Pipe in hand, Sholmes looked down at the thick, rolling fog outside our window. I wonder exactly how many mysteries are out there, hidden within this bed of fog, he said. Indeed, a most bizarre incident, born of a curious advertisement. A hellhound's mad gallop through the shadows of a serial murder, an executed man's graveyard resurrection in the dead of night. And a commonplace killing in a small, forgotten room at the edge of town. There is, naturally, always another side to every case, of which most remain ignorant. And it is that other side which compels me to the scene of the crime, Wilson. So quickly now, take your hat and let's be on our way, my dear fellow. For our adventure is not over yet. Come, the game is afoot.
Eight days after that earth-shattering trial and Kazuma regaining his memory, we were in the foyer of one of London's most luxurious hotels, the Great Waterloo Hotel. Oh my good lord almighty, Jesus. I mean, yeah, in case you guys needed a reminder of how insane the graphical fidelity of this game has gotten compared to, because this is a great comparison. Like, you can almost do a one-for-one side-by-side comparison between the hotel from Farewell and Turnabout, which already got a massive facelift after its presence in Turnabout Sisters, but if you compare that hotel lobby to this, it's crazy to think how far things have come. November 1st, 10:24 a.m., Great Waterloo, okay, you might want to do something about that name. Great Waterloo Hotel foyer. Professor Mikotaba is due to arrive any moment. Yes, I'm so glad we got here in time. Susato-san hasn't been the same since what happened. Not that I'm surprised. The truth about Kazuma-sama's father. Do you suppose my father knew? Yes. That he was actually the mass murderer? The professor? Yes. There's no chance in the world he didn't know. Absolutely no way. I knew that's what she was thinking about. There's a good chance, I'd say. I mean, they did come here to London together 16 years ago, didn't they? Yes, that's true. Come to think of it, didn't you say that Professor Mikotaba knew about Kazuma going missing in Hong Kong as well? That's right, but for some reason he wasn't at liberty to talk to me about it. That probably means he knows, then, about Kazuma showing up here in London with amnesia, and that he's regained his memory now. Ah, there she is. Oh, not who I was expecting. Wow, okay. Oh, wow, you two dress up nicely. I honestly did not, okay. You threw me off for a bit there, because the way because that's the judge, like, I'm not used to seeing judges out of their robes. This is, like, abnormal. This feels like it's against the rules. This is very strange. The way he's dressed right now, he looks like my AP US history teacher from high school. Now, none of you know that, or that means nothing to any of you, but it means something to me, so I just wanted you all to know that. And, wow, you two are unrecognizable in those costumes. Hello, Susato. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for abandoning me all those years ago and leaving me to die. That was great of you. Thanks. I don't hate you for that. Also, thank you for not telling me literally anything about the fact that Kazuma-san was apparently a mass murderer. Thanks. Love you, Dad. We're delighted that you've arrived safe and sound.
Jeez, you two clean up real nice. Hello, Mr. Naruhodo. Very kind of you to take the trouble to meet us here.
Oh, no, not at all. It's my pleasure.
We've heard all about your extraordinary exploits here in London, you know. The news has crossed the seas. It has? I always look forward to reading the monthly reports that arrive with the steamships from Britain. Oh, I see. Well, thank you very much. Who is this man? And why do I feel as though I've seen him before? I take it from your expression that you can't quite place me. In that case, how about a little reminder, says Shiro. A firm tap should do it. Yes. A firm tap? What? Here we go, then. Of course you brought your... Of course you did. Also, that gavel is comically large, given... Okay. Yeah, that is a comically large gavel, my friend. I hereby pronounce the defendant of Yunosuke Naruhodo guilty. You're... Yes, thanks. We know. We remember. Also, it is possible that the gavels have always been that large, but they look a lot more comically huge with that camera angle than they ever have been. Also, again, nowhere on my bingo card, never in a million years did I think the judge from the first case of the first game, and the first case of this game, would have any role in this story whatsoever beyond simply being the tutorial judge. No way in the world you could have ever guessed. I'd never have ever guessed that. There's no way. Your Excellency!
Hello, Judge Chikoku. How are you? It's been a long time.
Ha 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 ha. Good, you remembered now. That really did the trick. Okay, you gonna do that all day? Ha 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 ha. Only I was declared not guilty, wasn't I? And there was no laughing at the time. So, London again after all this time. Hard to believe it's been 10 years. To be honest, I never thought I'd be back. Neither did I. I didn't imagine Japan would ever be invited to an international symposium like this. Though, really, I doubt anyone did, to be honest. It's all thanks to you, isn't it, Soshiro? What are you talking about, Eugen? Ha 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 ha. It's also weird because characters in visual novels don't change clothes ever, so it's doubly weird to see them like this. Like, they already look radically, their costumes just by themselves are like, this is weird to see like this. But just the fact that they change clothes at all is like, okay. What change clothes when it's not of my own volition? Like, I didn't... It's not like the main characters where I was the one who put costumes on them. It was... This is the game just messing with me. Of course, Judge Chikoku, he must complete the set. He's the other man who 16 years ago came to London with Kazuma's father and Professor Mikutaba. He's the third visiting scholar. Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a lot of time. I must say, I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Oh, didn't he? Oh, didn't he? Methinks that might be important for something later. I knew you were jealous. Sorry? Ministerial status? My territorial rights is what I'm talking about, of course. This case will never end. I am evil because I make the case 3 times longer than it needs to be. Something like that. Yes, didn't you know? Saishiro here is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. It was his personal insistence that allowed you to take Kazuma's place here on this study tour. Guilty as charged. Ha 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 ha. Is everything just a massive joke? Oh well, thank you very much. He's really every bit as important as he looks. Never would have guessed it. Ah, yes now, Naruhodo. I received a telegram from Lord Strongheart yesterday. Oh, you did? It appears that some things came to light in a trial you were involved with 8 days ago. About what happened 10 years ago. That tragedy. You can put it that way. That is a way to phrase what happened. Yes, could you tell us any more about it? Give me all the details you possibly have. Give me every single one. I require all of them. So how was the voyage here? Well, 50 days at sea is a long time by anyone's standards. But it wasn't as bad as when we first came 16 years ago. By the way, if if you think that my voice for this judge is different than it was in the original trials, I'm pretty sure it's because it is, but I think that my voice for these two was very similar to one another, so I'm trying to differentiate them a little bit, because I did not expect that the judge of the tutorial cases would have as major of a role as he's having right now, so my apologies on that one, but yikes. No, that's true. But I truly wondered if we wouldn't be drifting in the vast ocean for the rest of our lives. This time we followed the same route as you, so we were able to relax and enjoy the experience.
So you stopped in France's beautiful capital, Paris.
We did, yes, though only for one night. One night stand? And yesterday evening it is the city of love. We left the port of Dunkirk for Dover. Just in time for the symposium, in fact. It starts tomorrow.
It's wonderful that you were invited to attend such an important international event. I'm very proud of you, Father, for abandoning me all those years ago.
What? I didn't say anything. It's thanks to Sashiro here. 16 years ago, he managed to ingratiate himself with Britain's Attorney General. I'm sure that's why he was invited. And I suppose you could say I'm something of an appendage by default? Speak for yourself, Eugen. You were close friends with a professor of forensic science at a major hospital. Yes, well, I'd rather not dredge all that up, really. No. There's been a lot of water under the bridge since then, but it doesn't bring him back. Kazuma's father, I suppose? Yeah, about that, quick question. What the fuck? The professor, the killer who took the lives of 5 members of the British aristocracy, was actually Kazuma's father, wasn't he? That's correct. Genshin Asogi. Genshin?
You knew, I presume, Father?
Yes, he was a close friend at the time. Genshin came to Britain as a police detective. He was studying investigative techniques at Scotland Yard. I've never understood what drove the man to commit such heinous acts. It was a closed trial, so the public never knew the truth, and he was executed with little ado. To this day, very few people know what really happened, even in our homeland. But what about Kazuma? Did he know? Did he know the truth about his father? No, of course not. He was told his father passed from sickness. However, I suspect he may have had his doubts. Oh, why? As you know, I tried to guide Kazuma growing up as if he were my own son. Then, one day, he came to my office at the university and said, I've decided I want to travel to Great Britain and study there.
Do you think he wanted to come here to investigate his father's death?
I don't know, but when I looked into his eyes, I did know that there was no way I'd be able to stop him. Unless I forced him to be stopped. What? I didn't say anything. Something else came to light in the trial the other day, actually. Oh? What? Well, having disappeared in Hong Kong and been missing for almost a year, Kazuma's since turned up here in London working as the apprentice of Lord Van Zeeks. What? What? That's news to us. Oh, is it now? How wonderfully interesting that that's news to you. So, Lord Strongheart's telegram neglected to mention that part then. Yeah, something, So now that they've told me now that he's told me that Kazuma came to his office and said, I'm going to London to investigate this, and I know that these two were directly interlinked with what happened and that they were cognizant of what happened, and that Kazuma mysteriously turned up, quote-unquote, dead, and that these two were perfectly fine with the fact that he turned up, quote-unquote, dead, makes me think a little bit about some things. Gets the old cogs turning about what their motives here really might have been, since they said that there was no way they'd be able to stop him. Anyway, as you know, we both thought Kazuma had died on the steamship during a voyage to Great Britain and Japan.
But he didn't die. He's alive. As you knew, didn't you, Father?
In actual fact, no. What I did know is that when your ship docked in Hong Kong, he mysteriously vanished. We sent a team of investigators to Hong Kong to try to ascertain what had happened, but to no avail. But he's still alive? And here, in London, you say? I never dared even to dream it. Why on earth did the young man not make contact? The government and the police have been chasing clues fruitlessly for months now.
Well, he seems he was suffering from amnesia.
What? Amnesia? When we first came across him again here in London, he didn't know who either of us were. I see. He only regained his memory 8 days ago. This is unbelievable. Yes, it's quite miraculous. I wonder why Lord Strongheart didn't let us know. I must speak with him urgently. I wonder how Kazuma's been these past few days. Would it be wrong of us to... Honestly, I would have visited him sooner if I were you. Your time in Britain. That began 16 years ago now. It's a distant memory, really. Yeah, well, it's gonna become a significantly less distant memory in the very near future. It was Eugen here, Genshin, Asogi, and myself. We were the original three. The first judicial scholars from Japan to travel overseas to study. Ocean voyages were not what they are today, I can tell you. 16 years ago, things were tough for the generation. Your father was an exceptionally fine medical student at Yama University at the time, you know, young lady.
Yes, grandmother told me when she was forced to take care of me because he abandoned me 16 years ago. I remember, and I'll never forget it. Prick.
He went to do research at a great London hospital to study autopsy, practically unheard of in Japan. Yes, it was an eerie place, sandwiched between the back of a prison and a burial ground. Not more talk of graves. Very often there's no one willing to deal with bodies following autopsy work. So, you see, autopsy labs have something of an unavoidable relationship with graveyards and prisons. Not my cup of tea at all. Do you remember that Scottish prison governor? Caden, his name was. He was a good man. Yes, but then, of course, in our 6th year here, everything changed with that dreadful case. When Genshin was arrested for a series of the most gruesome murders. I simply couldn't believe it. I'd known the man for years. I was a witness at a secret hearing, and I tried to speak in his defense, but you went a little too far and ended up facing charges yourself, didn't you? Well, suffice to say that after that trial, we were sent back to Japan. There was nothing more we could do to save Genshin. He was a lost cause, sadly.
I cannot the eyes.
Well, if you'll excuse us now. Yes, I'd like to get this trunk out to my room as soon as possible.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have held you up here for so long.
I feel like it would have been a lot more comfortable to talk in the privacy of a hotel room and not in the wide open lobby where anyone can hear us and where we can barely hear each other.
I'll go for the porter then. Just wait here.
Susato-san's gone off at a run. I'd like to stay and talk more, but I do have various preparations to make for tomorrow.
Yes, of course. It must be a big responsibility with representing our entire country. I wish you the best of luck.
Naruhodo, I hope you'll keep an eye on Susato for me. Keep looking after her as you obviously have been, because I am a useless, worthless father. Also, I don't think she can take care of herself, so that's a double whammy right there.
No, I mean, if anyone's looking after anyone, it's her looking after me. Yeah, you don't say, buddy.
Well, I do appreciate you being there for her. After all, I abandoned her 16 years ago, and she's never forgiven me since, and I don't really care. I've been oh, wow, actually, well, I mean, look, I wasn't gonna be the one to say it, but, I mean, it's so long as we're volunteering confessions here. Sorry? What do you, take a shot in the dark, Rinosuke. What do you think he means? Think through the timeline of events, my friend. Well, it was 16 years ago that I started my long study tour here in Britain, as you know. The very year Susato was born. Yes, I heard, he said through gritted teeth. The birth of my daughter was the most joyous event of my life, and that's why I completely abandoned her immediately afterwards. Well, sadly, it was accompanied by the most tragic event of my life, too. Oh, yes, Susato-san hinted at something like that. Yep, we heard. Anyway, I won't bore you with the details. The point is, I became rather less dependable than befits a grown man, and it was then that Saishiro offered me the opportunity to study here in Great Britain. And then I ran away and never looked back. I was too worried about you to leave you behind, so perhaps I was a little heavy-handed when it came to persuading you to accompany me to London. So, that's what happened in a nutshell. And that's also the reason why I now feel compelled to give my daughter as many opportunities as I dare. Though the world does not really afford young women such things, I must say. I completely understand, Professor. Ah, one other thing, Naruhodo. If I may be so bold, I have a favor to ask you. Oh, really? Of course. What can I do for you? Well, the thing is, I'm so sorry that... This prick again? Really? This little shit? Okay, great.
I'm so sorry it took so long. Mr. Sato, now then, allow us to take your bags.
Allow me to take your bags. I don't know what voice I gave you and I don't care. You're still a little shit. One moment, if you please, Porter.
Of course, sir.
That machine around your neck. It's a camera, I believe.
Quite right, sir. Just 5 shillings for a lovely photograph to commemorate a wonderful stay at the hotel, sir.
Well, I think, given the occasion, we could justify the expense.
Ah, yes, of course.
That's a nice picture. And it perfectly captures the essence of all the characters. Ryunosuke just looks constipated in that picture. I was gonna before the picture was taken, I was gonna suspect that it was gonna be an Apollo Justice situation / and a Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney situation where they say we took the picture, or they say they drew the painting, but they didn't actually, they don't actually show it to you until the credits roll, because that's usually what happens, is like they take the picture, and then that picture of the cast is what shows up in the final credits. So I thought it was gonna show up there, but I guess they wanted to show it early, so that's that, I suppose. Anyway, yeah, so about Mikotaba wanting to give Susato as many opportunities as she can, respectable, and I completely understand and agree with that. However, you're still a little shit, because you abandoned her 16 years ago, so you can try to make up for it, and it's good that you're doing so, but it's not like, you can't just snap your fingers and pretend like it never happened. That's not how this works.
I'd like to thank you for coming with me, Mr. Naruhodo. It's really made Father very happy, I think.
Oh, well, I'm pleased then, but we were interrupted before. Professor Mikotaba was about to ask me something.
Shall we return to Baker Street then? I expect Iris will have some delicious tea waiting for us.
Yes, let's go. I'm getting more and more anxious about Kazuma, though. Perhaps I'll try to meet with Lord Strongheart later and ask after him. Yes, that's the other thing, is I don't know where we're going. Like, I don't know where this game is going from here on out, because in the first game it was kind of like, you know, villain of the week kind of thing, where it's like you do this case, it's self-contained, this case self-contained, this case self-contained, this case self-contained, and then the fifth case is also can function as a self-contained case, but it links back to something that happened earlier in the game. But at this point, we are so deep into the main overarching mystery of what's happening in this game that I don't really, I think we're done with Villain of the Week. I think at this point, everything that happens from here on out is going to be interlinked very closely with everything that's being established prior to this point, so I don't know where we're going. I don't know what to expect, but I'm excited all the same. So let's head to, you said you wanted to go to Baker Street? Alright, well then, I guess, actually no. Wait, we can't even go back to Baker Street. Okay, well then let's just go to the office, because I'm more interested in what's going on with Kazuma than whatever's on Baker Street. Oh. Hello there, unexpected visitor. Didn't think you'd be here, but I won't complain about killing two birds with one stone. Here's the final draft of the opening address for tomorrow's proceedings. I've supplemented your original with the figures you asked for from the yard. I see. Excellent work, thank you. You're welcome, my lord. What's Lord Van Zeek's doing here?
My, there seems to be an awful lot of tension in the air, wouldn't you say?
This place is stifling enough as it is. We really don't need any more tension. I like how we always show up at the tail end of every conversation that he has with everyone. My apologies. I didn't notice you come in. Your small stature and dark dress make you all but invisible to me. No. It's entirely my fault for wearing black, I'm sure? No.
From now on, you must dress in white from head to toe whenever you come here.
Maybe don't do that. Maybe we don't do that. Now then, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. I'm right here. Ugh, kill me now. Is something wrong? Perhaps it's a little too hot in here for you. Oh, no, not at all. I mean, I've never experienced rooms at such a perfect temperature. If you're sure, the beads of sweat carving their way down your face seem to suggest otherwise, because of the daggers you're staring at me with, mainly. As you were no doubt aware, my International Forensic Science Symposium begins tomorrow. In fact, your father arrived in London earlier today, I hear, madam.
Oh, yes, that's right, my lord. He's extremely honored to have been invited.
I'll leave the remaining preparations for the meeting room in your capable hands, then, Lord Van Zeeks. I will attend at once. Hey, buddy. How you doing? How's life been since we last spoke?
He gave you a very cold stare as he left, didn't he?
I know, but I haven't done anything. Have I? These past few days, my feet have barely touched the ground, I must say. My dedicated right hand of many years was recently put out of action in spectacular fashion. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is your left hand still of service?
Mr. Naruhodo, he's talking about Dr. Scythe.
Ah, of course. Ryunosuke's an odd one. He's so smart and he's so bright, but he's also so stupid. I'm terribly sorry about that. I was just Fear not. You've done nothing wrong. Dr. Sai's own wrongdoing precipitated the situation. You needn't concern yourself with it any further. That would be a lot easier to do if it weren't for the piercing stare you're giving me. Lord Van Zieks is doing an admirable job of holding the fort. Though disturbingly, his apprentice has been missing since yesterday. Oh, missing?
What's become of Kazuma-sama now?
Oh, I don't even... Alright, well, let's dig up all the information we possibly can. Because Kazuma disappearing is never a good thing. Not long ago, visitor numbers for the Great Exhibition exceeded 30 million.
30 million? Are there even that many people in the...
The product of its time, I see.
As a comparison, Mr. Naruhodo, the population of the imperial capital Tokyo is 2 million.
I will be opening the International Forensic Science Symposium in the exhibition's main auditorium. This event has been 2 years in the making. 2 years of preparations and negotiations with other countries.
It sounds like a tremendous achievement. Congratulations.
The 20th century will see the wholesale adoption of forensic investigation techniques, and cooperation between policing organizations around the globe will be essential, which is why this landmark first symposium has to be hosted here, at the heart of our great British Empire, in order that Scotland Yard can become the leading investigative organization in the New World.
He's the same as ever, I see. That passion of his is quite something. That's the thing, is he doesn't seem evil. Like, his actions are just like normal everyday businessman things. But everything about his character design and his presence on the cover art just screams, I'm evil. I don't get it. You're every bit as passionate in your own way, I'm sure, Mr. Also, speaking of the cover art, it is very bizarre that Remember Me is so prominently displayed next to Susato, despite having only been in one case so far. It's a bit strange. You're every bit as passionate in your own way, I'm sure, Mr. Naruhodo.
I'm the only person in this country who truly cares about a future that embraces forensic science. It was my intention to become Her Majesty's Attorney General and reform the yard from the ground up. So the disgrace of the forensic investigation team has been a bitter blow to my ambitions. Okay, do tell more, I suppose. I mean, I'm more interested in Kazuma, but we gotta get through all the dialogue options. I first established the forensic investigation team a year ago, experimentally to start with. With Dr. Sai at the helm, it was steadily accruing an impressive record of achievement. I was on the verge of changing its name and elevating its status to a full-blown forensic investigation department. And can you not do that now? Obviously. Nobody wants to hear anything about it at the moment. Even I can't keep this story out of the papers. 6 million Londoners will be cursing forensic science now. This incident will set back our country's advancement in the field by a good 10 years, I'd say.
Unintended repercussions of our trial. We simply couldn't have overlooked what had happened, though.
Of course not. We should all be grateful to you both. Anyway, I'll still reform this country's policing when I become Attorney General. This might delay my plans, but it won't alter them. Nothing will stand in my way. Yeah, sound like a villain more, why don't you? So, where's Kazuma? About Lord Van Zieks' apprentice. Ah, yes, that came as a surprise to me, I must say, that you and he are old friends.
How did he become an apprentice to Lord Van Zieks in the first place?
It came about 3 months ago. An unidentified Asian man was apprehended by border police. They found him hiding aboard a large goods vessel.
Oh my! So he stowed away to get here!
He had no papers to identify him, no passport, and he was suffering from amnesia too. Other than the fact that he was clearly of Eastern descent, there were no clues as to who he was. So I decided to assign him to Lord Van Zieks. That way I could keep an eye on him.
But then, why the mask?
I didn't want to burden Lord Van Zieks with tiresome explanations about why he had an Eastern apprentice, because it would be so much easier to explain why he was wearing a mask. He's proving to be a great help to Lord Van Zieks. I have high hopes for his future.
By the way, do you know where he's gone?
No idea, but I believe he's left London for the time being.
How? Where if he has no passport, no papers or anything, how did he get out of the... Okay.
I take it you also didn't know. That is, that the man's father was one of our own country's most infamous criminals, I mean.
Genshin Asogi.
Yeah, I think that kind of rocked the world when we learned that yesterday.
What we learned from that trial 8 days ago was a huge shock. Finding out my friend's father was...
yes. Genshin Asogi. The professor case 10 years ago caused a great stir here in Britain.
They were such awful murders and unprecedented, using a ferocious dog as a murder weapon.
And no one would have believed the culprit was a foreign student invited to study here by the government. So the true identity of the killer couldn't be made public then, and can't be made public now. Nobody in your country knows it was him, and neither do the citizens of London.
The main motivation was to avoid aggravating relations between our two nations at the time, I understand.
Correct. However, it has to be noted that there were some supporters of the professor's apparent cause.
What? Supporters of a mass murderer?
The majority of the man's victims were a blight on the aristocracy of the day. Somewhat ironically, their deaths actually benefited society as a whole. How curious that you would come to that conclusion. Or, so a fair few thinkers in London believed, anyway.
Right, I see. But it was still murder, wasn't it? It seems very similar, doesn't it? To the idea of the Reaper of the Bailey.
Now that brought him to silence. Oh, no subsequent, wow. No topic of discussion there, you're just gonna shut up about that one? Okay then. Well, we don't really have anything that we can present to you except our armband, so I guess Susanna said she wanted to go home for tea with Iris. I was hoping we'd get more detail about where Kazuma went, but apparently he just disappeared out of the country somehow. November 1st, Sholmes' suite. What now? What was that?
A man screaming in a most unflattering way.
Do you think... Could it have been Mr. Sholmes?
Oh my, I do hope not.
Oh, what the... Who the hell are you people? What the... Wait, what?
Mon ami. Stop this disgraceful display.
Who the hell are you people? Look at the hair. It's bright red.
I think... They must be clients of Mr. Sholmes.
Gina's here? What are you people all doing here? What are you doing in my home? What? You two? You come with me now. Down to the clink.
No, not embracing. It's dark and deep, and I don't like it.
Both the darkness, it is my friend. I am not scared.
Well, but you are always here in the dark.
Shut your mouth, you idiot. I will sit quietly in the dark and plan our next Demiggeist.
Well, I don't like this. I don't like this.
Well, tough. We'll finish this down the yard. Now get moving.
Bye then, Ginny. Have fun.
Oh yeah, thanks, Iris. And thanks, you great detective.
Wait, what was that? What? What just happened? Wait a minute. Hold it. Rewind. What? What just happened? What just occurred in the last 2 minutes? Okay. So, let's review. So we go home, alright? We come to a nice, lovely home, and we see some random people just diddling around, doing who the hell knows what, just whining about something or other, and then Gina teleports into the scene, says, hey, you two, you're under arrest. What were they doing here? What okay. Okay. That was a thing. Alright, let's keep going, I suppose.
Gina makes a fine detective herself, doesn't she? Oh, Susie and Bruno. Hello, Iris. We're home. Well, did you find your daddy?
Speaking of finding people's daddies, when are we gonna breach the news to Iris? I feel like the longer we wait, the more painful it'll be when we finally reveal the truth.
Yes, we arrived at the hotel just before he and his friend. Oh, well, that's great news. How about I get to see...
Hey, Sasato, a word, please? Maybe we should, rip off the Band-Aid because the longer we let this stick, the more it's gonna hurt when we finally rip it off.
Yes, of course.
Dr. John H. Wilson. So, Iris, all that remains now is that greatest of problems known to man. Well, whoa, what? Now what? What is happening? What is going on? What is it whenever everyone become Markiplier for the day? Wait, okay, everyone's got red hair now. Apparently, why? But before we concern ourselves with that, I believe some tea's in order, don't you, my dear fellows? What? Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Do I have a crumb or such like on my face? You had something on your face. Not so much on your face. Well, I mean, there's hair in front of his face, so that counts. That's on your head, I'd say.
Come along then, everyone. I've brewed a lovely special blend. Time for tea. Are we not just gonna... What occurred in the last 8 days that we just didn't know about? Whatever's going on here today. My thoughts exactly.
In that case, let us sit and drink now, for I am, in fact, expecting a guest later today. Does this guest also have red hair? Is it the Red Hair Club? Was that... Okay. Apparently we missed it. We missed an invitation to the Red Hair Club. Yeah, where... Oh my god.
Mr. Sholmes, who were the two gentlemen that were here before?
Oh, just a pair of petty criminals. Nothing of significance. Then why are you all... Why? Of course, they have to make a living somehow. And when the mood takes me, I'm willing to turn a blind eye to all manner of infractions.
When the mood takes you?
All manner of infractions? But when such fellows set their sights on Mr. Erlock Sholmes, well, that's when the luck runs out.
Oh my! You were the target of a crime, Mr. Sholmes?
But I quickly devised a plan to entrap them and deliver them to our young detective ally. Uh-huh.
You should have asked Gracie to come too. We could have had an arresting tea party.
I did send a word, but no answer was forthcoming. Are we just not going to address the red hair? The man is consummately in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's a word for it, I'm sure. Ah, I have it. A bungler, that's the word. It's a good job he's not here to hear you say that. So those redheads have been up to no good?
I wonder what the men did.
The fact that there's no option here to ask about the red hair, like, what is the... Like, okay, so just so we're clear, if Erlock Sholmes wants to change his, like, he wants to dye his hair red, more power to him. I don't care what color you dye your hair. If you like it, good for you. More power to you. I don't care one or the other. But I at least would like to know what the hell happened. Like, what? 1 minute we see you and you look like yourself. The next minute you look like Leo from the Little Einsteins all of a sudden. Like, what happened? What did we? If you want us to be your new look, that's great. I'm happy for you. But I at least would like to know how we got from point A to B, because I don't understand the transitional process here. What was that about the greatest of problems known to man that you mentioned before?
Is it another fiendishly intricate case, Mr. Sholmes?
How should I best explain it? Are you aware of the theory of evolution by natural selection, perchance? Yes, and I think your existence disproves it. Well, I think I've heard talk about somewhere, possibly.
It's a revolutionary scientific theory that was newly proposed 40 years ago now. According to its author, Mr. Darwin, we humans were once apes who lived in the treetops.
Wait, what? We were apes? Indeed, and from the very moment those apes descended from the canopy to live as humans, it has been our lot to be at the mercy of the greatest problem known to man.
Our lot? What is this great problem, Mr. Sholmes?
Why, is it not obvious, my dear madam? The problem of rent. What? Ha ha ha.
But did you not receive a rather large sum of money from Madame Tusswell's only the other day?
Sure, a large sum. One pardon her for Iris and a new motor car for me later. And all of it is you bought a car? You're having rent problems and you bought a car? Adulting 101 with Erlock Sholmes, ladies and gentlemen. About to get evicted for not being able to pay rent on time, buys new car. 200 IQ play. Okay. By the way, my joke from earlier, in case you didn't get it, is that implying that natural selection should have wiped Erlock Sholmes out a long time ago. That was the joke, in case you didn't get it.
Honestly, Early, you know you squandered it.
Also, another thing. This is why we should have accepted payment from Professor Hairbrain. And by the way, in case anyone was thinking like, oh, what, you want to empty his bank account? Like, no. He hired us as his attorney. I would have expected some kind of compensation for it, you know, since that's kind of how it works, is the lawyer gets paid for their services. It wasn't a pro bono case, and evidently, based on the situation at home, he probably should have accepted a payment, since apparently we're having major rent problems right now. Although I'd also like to point out that, you know, had you not bought, I don't know, the motor car or gotten your hair dyed, since maybe you wouldn't have some problems. Erlock Sholmes, Big Brain Sholmes, back at it again. I discovered the answer to man's greatest problem, for the coming month at least. And what was the answer? Why, there was a substantial clue before your very eyes.
Don't tell me! Let me see.
Humans are solid creatures and able to see what is in front of their noses. Let me give you some assistance. Don't look, but observe me very closely. Are you trying to tell me that you're joining the red hair brigade in order to bring in money in that manner? There is one particular feature about my person that has changed. You should notice it in the end, I think. In the end? It's been stabbing me in both eyes right from the very beginning of our conversation.
I think we might need another clue before we uncover the full answer, Mr. Naruhodo.
Thanks for the hint. I'll be tearing my hair out if this charade goes on much longer. Okay, the lie you told. Mr. Sholmes, isn't it about time you told us the truth? Just over a week ago, you said to us... Yeah, the thing about Kazuma. That case aboard the SS Burial in January, Kazuma wasn't killed, and you knew he wasn't dead at the time. So what was really going on? The fellow was unconscious for a very long time. If he hadn't regained consciousness when he did, his life would have been in mortal peril. Of course, a side effect of the prolonged comatose state was amnesia, as you now know. It was a simple enough task to silence the crew, but how? After they'd carried him out of the cabin, I assembled them in the lobby area. Then I made them swear to leave him unconscious and have him unlaid from the ship in Hong Kong as a murdered corpse.
Oh, how horrible!
So, what happens to Beef Stroganoff and the girl who was convicted of killing him? Are they gonna... I'm assuming that they'll be freed for, you know, not killing him, hopefully. It was necessary to find some material with which to persuade the crewmen to keep their word, of course. But why? Why do it in the first place? I will be at liberty to elaborate in due course. He probably wanted the people back home to believe he's dead, as evidenced by earlier conversation. But for the time being, I would like to reassure you. I didn't foresee subsequent events. What events? His disappearance in Hong Kong.
Oh!
I believe I may have made a gross error of judgment. Mr. Sholmes? That it? We are not ending this... We are not ending this conversation here, game. Oh, you know what? Oh, I did see... I saw this mask, and I was gonna say something about it, but then we got bombarded by the Red Hair Brigade and Gina, and I subsequently forgot about it. Is this supposed to be his mask? Because it could be anyone's, but... Okay, yeah, so it is his mask. But when he cast it aside after the trial the other day, I just sort of picked it up.
We ought to give it back to him, I suppose.
If you can find him first. But he has his memory back now, doesn't he? I kind of have a feeling he might turn around to tell me codely to wear it myself.
But isn't he your best friend?
Okay, well, that didn't get us anywhere. Is there anything else we can look at here that would be of substance? Is there anything in the newspaper that's important? I doubt it, but we can check, I suppose.
This looks like last week's edition.
What's that article circled in red ink there?
It's an advertisement column. It says... To the Red-Headed League.
There's an actual... It's an actual thing? If there's actually a club, if there's actually a red-headed club, I'm gonna scream. I swear to God. Don't even... Is something on my face? Clearly this has something to do with that lively hair. I swear to God, if I read this paper, and it is revealed to the Red-Headed League, on account of the request of the late Ezekiel Hopkins of Lebanon, Pennsylvania, USA, there is now another vacancy open which entitles a member of the league to a salary of £4 a week for purely nominal services. All red-headed men who are sound in body and mind and above the age of 21 years are eligible. Apply in person in the morning of 31. It's literally a thing. It's literally a thing. There's actually a red-headed club. What is this? Okay. So that was a joke when I said that. That was a funny joke. But apparently that's the thing. Okay. It looks as though someone circled an advertisement in this paper, Mr. Sholmes, in red ink. To the Red-Headed League? Does that strike you in some way? I was thinking that just maybe it might be related to your bright red hair. So, at last you've learned to apply my methods, Mr. But what methods? Your method of throwing science and logic out the window in every single dental deduction? Sorry? In the first instance, and quite indispensable, observation. Believe me, I could have seen that hair with my eyes shut. So then, allow me to regale you with the details of my latest exploits. Regale or boast? Oh, good lord. What did you get yourself into this time, Sholmes? And how badly is it gonna screw us over? Remember the last time when you got involved with a location that you probably shouldn't have? Yeah, it was like yesterday. So what is the Red-Headed League, which seems to be the subject of the advertisement you've circled? You noticed it in the paper, then? That, my dear fellow, was going to be the source of this month's rent payment. It was? How? According to the advertisement, the Red-Headed League is a distinguished institution of fellows of unspecified governance. In fact, the only condition for becoming a member is having red hair. That doesn't entirely surprise me.
But listen to what the lucky redheads receive once they join. An unconditional salary of £4 a week. Oh my, £4 a week?
But why? What are they paying people for? That I don't know. No details are given in the advertisement.
But surely every redheaded person in the country would be flocking to join in that case. You're right, Susie. There's no time to lose. I'll put it in my application at once. So will I. Just on the off chance.
That might be stretching a point, I think.
The trouble is, they have a fixed number of members, you see.
Oh, I see. So once a certain number of people have joined, no one else can. But as luck would have it, one member recently passed away.
It wasn't particularly lucky for the redhead in question, I feel, Mr. Sholmes.
So you decided to try to join in this place? Correct. I mean, look at me. Have you ever seen such a red-headed fellow? No. So why? Why did it have to go so wrong? What on earth happened? A blunder, Master Naruhodo, though it pains me to admit it. What, that you messed up? That happens every day. Multiple times. Nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to you.
What did you actually do to your hair, Mr. Sholmes?
I'm glad you asked, Mr. Sato. What you see atop my head is neither dyed nor a hairpiece. I changed the color of my hair overnight, by the wonders of chemistry. So you dyed it. I was conducting some research into a method of rejuvenating spent tea leaves, and in the course of my work, I stumbled upon a potion that, when taken, turns one... it does what now? Would you like to try it? It will make every hair on your body perfectly crimson. You can't be serious. I think I'll pass. Are we really doing the Danganronpa 3 thing where you drink the potion and it makes your hair insane? Really? That you can't be serious. Amateurs are always hampered by such fears.
Oh, I should never have doubted you, Mr. Sholmes. You mean to say?
But of course! To earn £4 per week, one must be prepared to turn a blind eye to a little danger. That degree of red signals more than just a little danger, surely.
So anyway, Hurley left full of confidence yesterday with his new red hair. For the park on Lime Street where the Red-Headed League was interviewing prospective new members.
So what went wrong? The whole park was choked with red-headed folk, like a coaster's orange barrow. I queued up for 8 hours solid before at last I reached the front, but when the panel of interviewers saw me, they immediately said, "Ah, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, are you in disguise to conduct an investigation?" So naturally, I had no choice but to reply, "Shh, don't give me away." After which I could do little else but turn and leave. Then this morning, when I looked in the mirror, irritation stirred within me. So I turned that pair into the police.
Oh dear, what a disaster for Hurley and those two redheads.
Sholmes, you're quite a character. I'll say that much. You are quite the character. Aha! Here is my guest now, my latest client with money to spend. Yeah, maybe that should have been the plan from the beginning, was to get more clients for this detective agency / law firm that we are running here. Maybe that should have been the plan from day one, not to go sign up for a mysterious, probably not cult, or definitely not cult, redheaded club. Maybe that should have been the plan, Mr. Sholmes. Big brain. 200 IQ plays. Back at it again with Mr. Super Pro at Adulting. Buy a car when you can't pay the rent. Mr. Airlock Sholmes, everybody.
Remember, Iris, we are at present gripped by the greatest problem known to man. I must be willing to accept any case, no matter how unstimulating, save locating a runaway, of course.
Don't spare anyone's feelings, will you?
Oh dear, I'm afraid that Hurley can lack a little tact, especially just before the rent is due.
What the... Hey! Didn't expect to see you again. Juror number 2 from the last case. Oh, that's one thing I didn't mention. It was very refreshing to have a case where the jury didn't define everything. I gotta say, I kind of forgot what that was like. Because in every case prior to that point, it was like, what? This jury member is interlinked with one of the main witnesses? What? Or this jury member actually did it? What? What a coinky-dink! And it really started to piss me off. It was nice to have a case where the jury was just a jury. But apparently juror number 2 is here now. Again, we're faced with the problem of I gave a character a throwaway voice, now I have to commit to that voice.
Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Airlock Sholmes, please, oh please. Please find my husband, he's run away.
Whoa there, let's slow down there. Let's start with hello, my name is, and then you will say hello, your name is. Let's start there before we jump into missing person. What is happening anymore? This
To upset me?
I beg your pardon?
Never mind. A personal matter. My apologies. What exactly are you trying to say, Mr. Naruhodo?
I didn't say a word.
Come, my dear madam, be seated. Iris, some tea, if you please.
Of course.
What's the matter, Mrs. Sato?
Oh, it's just that gentlewoman. I feel sure I've seen this somewhere before very recently.
Yeah, she was on the jury for the last case. Yes, now that you come to mention it.
As I explained earlier, my name is Vigil. I implore you to take the case, sir. Money is no object. Simply name your figure.
Money and worth are of little consequence to me, madam. That being offered a case to solve is reward enough.
Sholmes, you
are the picture.
You are low on rent! You can't pay the rent. What are you doing?
And of course make a mental note of your offer, however, for contingent reasons. I trust you will remember your words also.
Oh, if I might inquire, sir. This gentleman and lady would be...
Oh, me? Do you not remember us from the last case?
What I'm about to tell you, I should like to communicate in the strictest confidence, you understand?
But I understand, but trust me, he will not be able to find your husband without us. I can guarantee you that.
These are my friends. I assure you, you may say before this pair anything which you may say to me.
I see.
I can vouch for the gentleman personally, after all. He's hard of hearing.
Why did I ever get my hopes up? Okay, let's talk. What's going on? Forgive me for asking, Mrs. Vigil, but have we met someone before? Do you not remember the jury from literally 1 week ago? Or 8 days ago, but whatever.
Oh my!
Sure, my dear fellow. What is your intention? Clearly you have no ability to differentiate the facial features of the English.
Yeah, what? Okay.
Is it possible that you're the nice young lawyer from the trial I attended last week?
I knew I recognized her! Well, that's off to a great start. Yeah, see. Yeah, I know. So, they didn't, the juror didn't have relevance in the case, but they do have relevance in the plot in general, which honestly I'm fine with, because whether you could have subbed her out for anybody, and the case wouldn't have been affected, so I'm fine with taking one of the jurors and focusing on their life story. That works fine. Where I get pissed is when you have a case where without the presence of specific members of the supposedly randomly selected jury, it wouldn't be able to solve in the manner that it wouldn't be able to be solved in the manner that it was. That's when we start to have a problem, but thankfully that wasn't the case.
It must be very difficult for you as a lawyer, being hard of hearing, I mean.
Pardon?
Oh dear! I'm so sorry. Don't worry if you can't hear. It was February, really, nothing more.
Thanks, Sholmes. Now look what you started, Mr. Sholmes. Thank you very much.
I believe it will be prudent for you to sit quietly in the corner.
Right! Oh my God. Mr. Sholmes, you perpetual thorn in my side. Okay, I didn't want to skip that far down, but I guess we're doing this now.
So, to the matter of your husband's disappearance. When did you realize he was missing?
Please try not to laugh. It was yesterday.
I'm sorry? Yesterday?
That really is recent. Laughably so.
The truth is, my husband does at times have occasion to spend the night away for his work. It's not all out of the ordinary for him not to return home at night, but this is different. For him not to make any contact for a whole day. That has certainly never happened before. Oh, my dear Daly, whatever could have happened?
My dear Miss Vigil, please calm yourself. Now then, have you contacted the police?
Why, naturally, but sadly they're useless. They refuse to listen to my pleas as my husband has been only missing for one day. I was asked to wait patiently at home.
In truth, Mrs. Vigil, I concur with the police. What? However, let us not be hasty. I see no reason why we should not engage my deductive powers to track your husband down anyway.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Sholmes.
And furthermore, let me assure you, a chance to solve the greatest problem known to man for another month has no bearing on my decision. I seek only to put a sweet smile on another Londoner's face. That's really all there is to it.
You have my eternal gratitude. I shall pay any sum you care to mention.
You seek only to put the sweet's rent in your landlady's purse. That's all there is to it. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's not, I mean, I can't want to defend Mr. Sholmes, but it's wanting to help her find her husband and wanting to be able to pay this month's rent aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. Like if she came up to us and said, I want you to help me rob a bank, then we'd be like, no! But, well, I mean, we would say that, obviously, but Mr. Sholmes would be like, but of course, I will of course help you do that. And then the answer would be, because we have to solve the greatest problem of rent. But in this case, and in that case, obviously, his desire would be, we need to pay the rent. But here, it's like, we're doing a good thing, and we can get paid in the process. Don't see any reason why we wouldn't. Anyway, I didn't mean to skip the middle option. That was my fault. I apologize, but now we're going to listen to it.
Tell us about your husband, madam.
Mr. Vigil, my Daly, is 40 years of age. I have a photograph here.
An entirely unremarkable gentleman, by appearance at least. How long have you been married?
It will be 15 years this year. We have a cordial relationship, and my husband's income is more than adequate, so we live quite comfortably.
As it would appear. I need only to look at you to know these things.
Oh, gosh!
Your dress is the latest style, your hat clearly regularly groomed, and your eyes are animated. In short, you have no inkling as to why your husband might have disappeared, correct?
That's right. He's a kind man with a strong sense of loyalty, and he rather dotes on me.
Which would point to the possibility that he has become embroiled in some incident or another.
Oh, that is exactly what I fear must have happened, Mr. Sholmes. I'm quite beside myself. My husband's employment is somewhat unusual, you see.
Do I even want to know?
Well, what if he's incurred some miscreants ill will?
Do I even want to know?
What exactly is your husband's line of work?
He's a warder at the prison.
And suddenly, this issue gets a lot more complicated. A god? That is someone, I don't know that I call it someone unusual. I would call that dangerous, and I'd say, hey, this case just got a lot more complicated, but I wouldn't call it an unusual line of work.
So, your husband is a prison warder.
That's right, yes. Well, in actual fact, he's the chief warder. Oh, well, then he's just dead. Sorry, he's dead. Yeah, no, he's dead. No, there's no salvation for him. He's dead.
Indeed, I see. Well, chief prisoner warder will certainly qualifies as something of a specialist occupation.
Yes, it does indeed. My poor husband must prepare those dreadful punishments and see that they're carried out.
Dreadful punishments? Does she mean capital punishment? What else would she be referring to?
And at such times, he must occasionally spend a night or two in the prison dormitory, but for that extra responsibility, he is remunerated more handsomely than the other warders. Of course, we make no mention of my husband's work to the neighbors.
Yes, I believe your prudence is justified. Tell me, at what prison is your husband engaged?
Barclay Prison, Mr. Sholmes.
Really? Barclay? Oh, a fine establishment. If I'm not mistaken, there's a large cemetery just behind it.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, wow, isn't that a coinky-dink? Ain't that a little coinky-dink? No! Lowgate Cemetery? That's unbelievable!
Unbelievable, my dear fellow, and yet undeniable.
Sorry, Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid you've lost me.
Ah, pay no heed, madam, pay no heed. A private matter.
This can't really be a coincidence, can it? And this is what I mean, man. At this point, we're so deep into it, there's no way in the world this can be a coincidence. Everything's gonna be linked together moving forward now. There's no case of, oh, we'll drop a little clue there and a little clue here. No, we're at the point where it's gonna start all rapidly tying together, or at least that's what I hope. I'm really excited and also simultaneously really nervous that they're not gonna be able to stick the landing, but I want more than anything in the world, I want them to stick this landing so hard.
Thank you for everything you've shared with us, Mrs. Vigil. I believe I have all the information I need to begin my investigation.
Oh, please support me as soon with good news, sir.
Fear not, madam. In a day or two, I shall be contacting you with a heartening report, I'm quite sure.
So soon? Oh, how splendid, Mr. Sholmes.
Good news shall be delivered early, as I always say. If you would be so kind as to leave the photograph of your husband in my possession.
By which he means my possession.
Thank you. Now, allow me to show you the door.
I can't thank you enough, Mr. Sholmes. You've been simply marvelous.
Alrighty then.
You know, I thank you every time, Hurley. But how do you come out with such nonsense? Good news in a day or two? Are you sure?
I can't be sure, of course, but then I didn't swear on it. I merely gave the good woman some hope. I hope to be able to give her good news, one might say. After all, the rent must be paid by the end of day tomorrow. If by that time the successfully located Mr. Vigil, we shall be mutually relieved. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo?
Don't look at me with those pleading eyes. So we have a time. We have a very short time. Very rapidly decreasing clock, of which we're running out of time to find this person.
Well, my dear fellow, did you hear the details of the case?
Yes, my hearing is surprisingly good, actually.
Excellent. And what did you make of it?
Well, I was surprised to learn where her husband worked. At Barclay Prison, I mean.
Ah, so you noted that.
Of course. Especially with the mention of Lowgate Cemetery.
Of all places in the world. Of all the places in the world.
Barclay Prison is where that notorious man was incarcerated.
The professor.
And now a warder from the prison has mysteriously disappeared, it would seem.
It's all very peculiar.
Indeed. But nothing you can't handle, I'm quite certain, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? Run along to the prison and see what you can glean, would you?
What are you gonna do?
It's a prison governor you want. No doubt the man is equally worried.
But aren't you going to go yourself?
Surely you needn't ask. I can't possibly be seen out with this hair.
This man... I feel like this man was sent to this planet to test me. But didn't you go to Lime Street with that hair?
That was a quite different matter. So I leave it in your capable hands. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm rather busy.
With what? What do you mean you're rather busy? What? No. Get your little ass back here. What are you busy with? You don't have anything to do. Your top priority right now should be to find this man. Because if you can't find this man, you're out of a job. And also, you're out of a home. That's more important. You're out of a home because you can't pay the rent. Maybe you should be focusing, like, all hands on deck on finding this man, you idiot. Okay. Well, on that note, I think I'm going to leave things right here. Because I feel like this is a good place to start. We've been at it for about an hour. Usually investigations recently have been around 2 hours in length, so I feel like we'll leave this right here, and then we'll probably finish out the investigation in tomorrow's episode. This is interesting. I'm intrigued so far because it's not what you traditionally expect out of an Ace Attorney case so far. Because there's no murder so far. Well, so far. Let's not get our hopes up. But so far, there's not been any murders or anything like that. It's just we're deep into the investigative stage to find the missing person. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to turn out, especially when the details of the case are so closely related to the previous case we just worked on. It's like, okay, what's going on here? And then there's the whole thing with the stupid redheaded club, which is a real thing, apparently, in this universe. I don't even know, but we'll see what happens. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time. I hope to catch you all tomorrow for some more of the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Goodbye.